Hollow Knight, the actual game I'm super excited about. This is something I bought on the Steam Summer Sale, and I expected to like it. It came out, I think, in February. I know it came out earlier in the year, and it's only on PC right now. It's coming to Switch and probably other platforms, and it totally should. And this game is going to blow up when it does. When this game comes to Switch and IGN finally figures out it exists, they are gonna love the shit out of it, and so will every other outlet, and blah 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 blah. It is incredible. I think this is one of the best games of the year, bar none. It might be my favorite game of the year. It's certainly up there. It's also, in addition to that, one of the best Metroidvania games I've ever played. There's so many. It's like hard to even know where to start with this game, because it does everything so well and so right. The exploration, finding these weird paths, seeing these weird creatures. It has that Dark Souls mentality of mystery, which some people really don't like, but it fits here in a Metroidvania perfectly well. Everything is this weird bug aesthetic. You're a bug. There's other bugs floating around doing bug things. And let's actually just take a step back. So the most original and interesting to me aspect of this is the health bar and the soul meter, which are up here. And the little soul meter you got, you collect soul by hitting enemies. And you use soul to use these like magic abilities, which I don't use too often, and to heal yourself. So you have to stop and like charge up to heal yourself. So you're vulnerable to attacks. You're using this soul stuff to heal yourself. One little heart or little bug helmet. And the only way to get more juice to heal yourself, if you need it, is to go and fight more things. So there's a really nice circle there of like, crap, I need to heal. This is bad. Let me go find this easy enemy is over here. I'm gonna hit him a couple times and then I can heal. That's a great loop, in addition to having it tied to magic, in addition to having these pins, I think they're called, these like emblems that you can put on your body. You don't see them on your body, but you know what I mean. And you can equip them, and they do little things like, I have one where the slash damage or the slash attack is like 15-20% further. It just is a longer distance attack than the regular one. I have one where when I get hit, it does an auto counter attack like all around me, which is awesome. And then I have one where when I heal, it spawns a poison cloud that hurts enemies around me as well. And that's all customizable. And there are a bunch of these little pins too. There's probably, I don't know the number, but a good 30, at least 30 of them to collect and find and to mix and match to have your build. There's, in addition to that, there are different notches. So one of these pins might take 2 notches to equip, and you might only have 4 notch slots, right? And one of them might take 1, and you can do like mixing and matching like you could in any other game. That makes sense. That's how games work. And you can find a certain vendor that lets you purchase more notches or purchase more of these little charms, and that system just builds upon what we see right here are these super unique looking bug enemies with a combat system that is so much fun to play because of the different abilities you get, such as the dashing. And now I finally, like almost 20 hours into the game, I got the double jump, which is insane for a Metroidvania game. But there's something, you saw it a little bit here. The enemies do their own different thing. Like this guy might just run at you head on. This guy jumps into the air. This one's flying around doing other bug things. And it's so flashy and beautiful in the way it does it. It's very telegraphed. You never feel like, oh, you screwed it up. It's like, oh, damn it. I should have paid attention. I should have known that he was going to do that attack. And it could become annoying where like you're trying to heal, right? But things are constantly attacking you. And so you have to, in a boss fight, know like, okay, this is when he does this attack, I can jump out of the way and heal over here. But if I do it any other way, he's just going to beat up on me and I can't heal myself. So and that goes and ties back into the whole healing and the soul mechanic in the first place. There's also other things like upgrading your it's a nail, it's not a sword, it's a nail, because you're a little bug. Upgrading your nail and different other moves, finding these shards, which are like pieces of heart, to upgrade your health, or finding these other fragments of whatever to upgrade your soul gauge and all that. And like, look at this room. Like, this is a Super Metroid room, 100%. That is exactly what this is, and it's so good at what it does, and it gets so crazy. These areas you go to start to become super diverse. You're always traveling between them. It never becomes something that I feel like Dark Souls has a problem with, especially now, like Dark Souls 2 and on, where you're just teleporting everywhere. Like, you still have to walk and make the journey and make these discoveries that you will along the way, but because you can't just teleport everywhere and ruin the experience for yourself, you see these things, you see these rooms like, I still can't get there, or I could finally get there now, and you only get that because you can't teleport everywhere. I think this is a very important thing to note for a lot of Metroidvania games like this. And what else? Oh, this game never ends, for all intents and purposes. It's somehow, played about 20 hours of it. I'm at the very end, I believe. I think I can go, there's a couple areas I haven't been to, and I think I can go to the final, if it is the final area, I'm assuming it is. I think I can go to the final area now. But it is so incredible how this long into the game, I'm still finding entire new areas, fighting new monsters, new challenges that are, and they're everywhere. There's so many different aspects that you can look into. All these different moves and abilities. Like, what's this guy? This is yet another creature that has a different fighting style, that does completely different things from the other ones. These are flying around almost non-threatening. The world changes. This area itself that I'm in changes later on. Not to spoil things. There are platforming elements that get added in as the game goes on that make it super unique. There's the one thing I forgot to mention, where you can down slash, almost like a DuckTales pogo stick. You can down slash onto things and bounce off of them, which becomes super useful for combat, where enemies have shields and you can't attack them head on, but then they raise their shield above their head and you're bouncing on their head and like dashing around and trying to bounce on their head to hit them, and you're bouncing on other things. There's these a couple platforming moments where there's these hard shelled enemies you can't hurt. You're just supposed to bounce on them and keep bouncing as they move across the environment to get to the next platforming challenge. It's so smart and creative in that way. And there's a couple areas too that introduce their own mechanics of jumping that are unique to that area, right? And everything is so well in a world where we have gotten some really good indie Metroidvanias. I think the last one I played that I was super into was Axiom Verge. And around that time, I also played Ori and the Blind Forest. And Ori and the Blind Forest and Axiom Verge, both great games. But they don't have a ton of moves. There are a bunch of abilities in this game that not necessarily are new, but the way they're done is different. The way they're introduced and given to you has patience in it, which is something weird to praise, patience. But it's there, and it's something that you can only experience. Like, this game does not rush. It is a slow journey through it. It is not a 5-hour Metroidvania. Like, I loved Axiom Verge, but Axiom Verge is like 10 hours tops. And this is something that is so much deeper. The map is so much more involved in just the way it feels. Oh, that's the other thing too. The map mechanic. So each area of the game doesn't start with a map. You have to find, I'm actually going to walk right by him right now. The map guy. So there's a little page right there on the floor. You can see that. That's a hint that the map guy's around. And he's charting these worlds. And you don't have a map of the area until you find him and pay him for his maps. And that's in every single area. And you can't even see yourself on the map unless you equip one of those little pins, which requires a notch to use on the pins to see yourself as a compass point. There's so many unique ideas like that. Not even talking about the bug aesthetic is really cool. The way it does, it has a bunch of other Dark Souls mechanics in it too. If you die, you lose all your money, and you have to go back and fight your soul, which is easy, but is something you still have to go back and get. And I understand it can be a slog. Some people will find that a slog, but it was in Metroid. It was always in Metroid where you died and you had to go back to the boss and walk all the way back. It was always there. And Hollow Knight does it in such a smart way to where there's a ton of optional secret rooms that loop back upon each other, or on themselves really, to where now you don't have to do that again. It's never going to have this challenging platforming thing you have to do over and over and over and over again. That was for the optional area that looped back on itself and brought you back where you were, and you just feel rewarded. It does that super well. You're constantly rewarded with new spots on the map, new items. There's a coliseum where you're fighting a bunch of things, and it all has these weird characters and this lore that doesn't make any sense, but does make sense. And it's so much bigger than you'd think. You'd look at this game and it's a cutesy little bug thing, and okay, sure, it has this kind of hardcore-ish combat where you're dodging attacks, jumping over enemies, being super smart with positioning and when you can heal, when you can't heal, and the other moves you get along the way, such as clinging onto walls, change the game entirely. It's very interesting in that respect, and you look at it, and even with all that, you might not it's a $15 game. This will be a good time. This game has so much content in it. It is insane. I think I'll probably finish the game relatively soon. It's one of the rare times I'm doing a review where I haven't finished it, but I'm right at the very end, I feel like. And I've played enough. I could have reviewed this game after 10 hours and been amazing. One of the best games I've ever played. One of the best Metroidvania games I've ever played. It is so damn good. It understands exactly what Metroidvania should be, where you see something and you're like, how do I get there? Or you get a new ability and you go, no way, that's the ability? Now I can go there and go there and go there. And it's so much fun to traverse the world, to explore, to find the secrets, to gather the money that you get to upgrade everything, to find these little secret wormy mans. And what does that mean? And how does that reward system work? And so goddamn good. This game is a steal. I keep circling back to a point I lost 20 minutes ago. This game is so beyond worth $20. I paid $10 for it, and it's highway robbery. This game is so much more. They could have charged $30 for this and really kind of gotten away with it, because it is incredible. And mark my words, the last time I said mark my words for something being popular, it was Prey, and it ended up not being as popular as I thought people were going to like it. But they were wrong about Prey. But people will, again, mark my words, love this game. This is something that when it finally happens, when it finally hits the mainstream and IGN wakes up and does a review for Hollow Knight, and GameSpot and whatever, I'm sure it did get reviews, but not from the biggest places, because it came out Horizon and Zelda time. Once that happens, people are going to lose their mind. This is the game you've been waiting for. When it hits Switch, people are going to lose their shit. It is exactly that game that you want to play on the wherever toilet bowl. There's little weird mini boss encounters like this that come out of nowhere. There's so many different mechanics. It respects your time mostly with these shortcuts like I talked about. And it's so much fun. It has that same feeling of a Dark Souls. Not as hard. It isn't easy, but I don't think it's overly difficult for the most part. There are a couple bosses that I think might be optional that I was annoyed by. But it has that moment of triumphing over these incredible odds of some giant dung monster who's throwing dung balls at you, and you're like, I didn't think I'd fight this, and there's things flying out, you're dodging and leaping, and it's just an incredible experience. Obviously, if you like Metroidvania games, look, I just discovered a secret. If you like stuff like that, you will love this game. It is so much more than just, we made a Metroidvania game. No, they made the game they wanted to make, and it's a Metroidvania game, and it is incredibly good, incredibly polished. Look at, this is the least interesting, visually the least interesting area in the game, I would say. And it becomes more interesting later on, actually, like I said. But it's the beginning, and you start, 20 hours into the game and I'm discovering new areas. I'm fighting new bosses. I'm unlocking new things in a Metroidvania game. Like, this might be one of the longer Metroidvania games I've ever played. It reminds me a lot of Salt and Sanctuary, which I really enjoyed, which came out last year, which was incredible. But Salt and Sanctuary takes the Dark Souls and puts it into 2D. And what this did was make a Metroidvania game and put a lot of Souls into it, a lot of the style, but it's still a Metroidvania game at heart. And that creates something that is very different and well worth the play. Cannot talk about this game highly enough. That's one complaint. This is a hot spring that heals you. Some poison water also looks like that. Kind of confusing. That's a little iffy game, just a little. But besides dumb complaints like that, the game is phenomenal. Definitely play Hollow Knight. Don't skip out on it. It's only $15. It's incredible. What a deal. What a deal. I feel like the Happy Mask salesman. Like, please buy it. Just do it. Just do it. I want people to buy Prey 2. So there will be a Prey 2. But this is something, this is the indie of the year for me. Like, bar none. I don't think anything could beat it. And I think if I really start looking at it too much, it might be my favorite Metroidvania game. Like, incredible. I'll just gush about this game for the next 20 minutes if you let me. That's the show. Recorded live every Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time, twitch.tv/thegamefanatics. Obviously fanatical about this game. Not as fanatical as I am about my weird garbage that I put behind me. This is why I live alone. Next week will be... What will next week be? I don't know. We're getting into the weird part of the summer where not a lot's happening. I don't know if you saw my newsreel at the beginning. There's nothing going on, in my opinion. So maybe some light weeks, maybe some weird, just evergreen topics. Who knows? Who knows? Who cares, Ben? Who are you talking? Who said that? Thanks for hanging out. Merry Christmas. And buy Hollow Knight. That's your homework assignment. That's an easy one. That's an easy homework assignment. I mean, it costs money, but so do textbooks. Yeah, that makes sense.